Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to PSGL Season 26. This is the F2 tier tonight, and we go to round number 2 at the Hungary for the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's basically Monaco without the barriers. My name is Jess, and joining me as per usual, we've got Dan. Hello, Dan.
Hello, Jess. So excited for the race tonight. Of course, Hungary, it's actually a really nice flowing track. Aside from it's pretty much impossible to overtake. So qualifying is going to be everything here tonight. And judging by this grid, it's going to be a close one.
Yeah, and what a race we had last week. Last week we were in Austria, and things couldn't have gone better for Williams, as I've just been disconnected from the session. Hopefully that will get sorted in a minute. But yeah, Williams has had a really brilliant start from Rafa, who took the win due to Toxic Tomato not getting quite a few penalties, and Rafa was able to pick up the pieces there. So strong start from both of them.
Absolutely, the 1-2 gave them maximum points and the fastest lap from Rafa. But Toxic Tomato is not going to be happy with it. Last week, he lost the win by 0.03 of a second. That's 33 milliseconds due to penalties. So he's going to want to prove himself worthy to fight with his teammate and not just be a number 2 driver.
Yeah, Toxic Tomato got pole last week. It was a 102.3 that he got pole. Obviously, F1 was about a few tenths quicker, but Toxic Tomato would have fought with the F1 guys. Before that, he would have been third or something in F1. So he did a fantastic job. And I think whilst we wait, I think we're good. We're back in the game now. But yeah, so Toxic Tomato's got a lot to prove to see if he can get pole again. He's looking quite quick in practice in the Hungarian. He was, Rafa was telling me Toxic was setting 1:12.5s in practice, which is similar to what we might see in F1 tonight later on. So Toxic is a quick boy, I've got to say.
Well, of course, he was in F1 last season. Unfortunately, he missed out on it here, but he's trying to make a statement. I think we might be getting another lobby because everyone's leaving.
Yeah, I left as well.
I've not been invited to the new lobby if there is one yet, but hopefully I'll get in that soon. But both, actually, Rafa and Toxic Tomato were in F1 last season, the only team to have 2 Season 25 F1 drivers together.
Yeah, that is absolutely crazy, of course. Another driver that did really well last week was Hadlow, actually, who climbed all the way from 10th place to finish in 4th place as well. And don't forget, the weather definitely changed its course, really. It started off on the dry tyres, but it was still raining, but we both never knew what was going to happen in terms of strategy. It started off being the slick tyres were going to be the best tyre, but then eventually it went to the inters, and we saw a few punches as well, which definitely shook things up a bit for some of the drivers, and that pushed a few guys down the order. Greeny LFC was struggling last week. He's not going to be here tonight though, but when he next races, surely he needs to do better on his tyres.
Well, of course, he tried running the medium tyres a lot longer into their life than he should have, and it really did hamper him throughout the race, and that was really what unravelled it for him. He was in a pretty decent position off the start, and he kind of threw it away on the strategy. So, of course, next time when he does race, he's going to prove that he knows what he's doing with the strategy, and he's going to maybe come back and get a podium.
Yeah, that's for sure. I don't think he was expecting that. We've seen a few people in other tiers as well that were really impressive when they go through the order as well. But you never know. Hungary, it's a mixture in terms of weather conditions. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, it's a bit of a mixed bag, really. So I wonder if it's going to play havoc or if it's just going to be dry. Most of the races I've commentated on, Hungary, it's dry. So they can thank me later if it's dry as well. So a few facts about the track. It is opened up slightly over the decade in terms of its layout, and it was first raced in 1986, and it's 4.3 kilometres with 14 turns, with only one DRS zone on this track, which is towards the start-finish straight. So really, it's going to be very, very difficult, and obviously I think there's one other heading towards potential turn 2 as well. So that is, it's going to be hard for the drivers to manage, but, you know, It's like Zandvoort in a way as well. You can't overtake in some corners, but we've seen in some tiers in a few seasons ago where they could just prove that they can overtake around Hungary. I have a feeling some people are going to take a lot of risks tonight.
Absolutely, it is a track that you do have to, if you want to make up positions, you have to make some ballsy overtakes in places that you wouldn't normally try and make a pass. But Hungary is pretty much the polar opposite of Austria. Of course, it was low downforce this week. Now we're going to be running high wings, so you really have to adapt to the different track and its conditions in terms of your setup.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if it's mixed conditions as well, because we never know if they want to put a dry setup in the wet race or something like that, or they have to compromise their setup in qualifying. We'll have to wait and see. So we'll go through the standings as we're just about to load into the lobby. So finally, thank goodness, sorry we are a couple minutes late. We had a few problems with the lobby. Rafa leads the championship by the maximum points available on offer, because the race win is worth 16 points, and he also got the fastest lap as well, so that totals him to 17 points. His teammate Toxic Tomato finished second last week, so he got 12 points. That means Williams are leading the Constructors' Championship. Then we got Midnight in third place with a cracking performance from him last week. Hadlow in fourth, like I said. CC Brain in fifth, he got 6 points. Big C got 4 points. Faz got 3 points. Name Changer got 2 points. And Greeny LFC got 1 point. With all the other drivers yet to score, I do believe Josh is not going to be racing again tonight. So we got PR1 Will again filling in. And he finished 6th last week, scoring some good chunk of points. And he, like Hadler, climbed up the order. So I expect a strong performance from Season 23 F2 champion.
Well, he made up about 14 positions in that race. He started so far down the order, and he was so strong last week. Of course, he is only reserved, but if he is going to, we got wet qualifying, but if he is gonna get a seat, he's gonna want to score them points.
Yeah, exactly. And there's obviously a few reserves in this F2 tier as well, which they do get called when needed. I think there was a few that couldn't make it tonight. I think there's a few people that are going to be joining midway into qualifying. Odem's being one of them. He's having trouble with his internet, I believe. I wonder if it's going to be Inters. I think by the looks of the weather, it is going to be Inters. We've always had wet-affected sessions in this F2, even if it's pre-season or if it's the first round or even the second round. But this time, it's qualifying. So take all the laps we set out the window. We're not going to be expecting 112s today, unfortunately, unless the track does start to dry. But we may see a few people for the likes of, say, CC Brain, Pat, for example, even Will, that are really good in the wet conditions, really shine through. And I wonder how many people, Dan, have practiced in the wet.
Well, normally it is not something you prepare for too much. You really just practice the dry and hope that it comes out in a dry session. But you can see Gonanen out on track right now in that Red Bull. He's the first driver to come out. I came 11th last time, so he didn't get any points. Or it was 11th, I think. But he's already struggling a little bit. You can see he was wiggling around a little bit through the first corner on exit. So it's going to be a qualifying of attrition for these drivers. You just want to keep it out of the walls and stay consistent.
Yeah, there's a lot of gravel traps and grasses as well. So if you hit that curb, that is something to watch out for, really. And there's a few things that the stewards have been asking the drivers to watch out for as well, because obviously there was a few issues. Obviously in Austria last week, there was a few penalties given. And I think there was one warning that got removed last week. So I can't remember which one it was. I'm trying to find that out, but I can't seem to find it, I'm afraid. So we will give some information about what to expect from the stewards. So there we go. At the end of the safety car period, they got to make sure to leave enough space between the car, you and the car in front, to avoid getting some penalties, because we did see a few penalties last week from a few tiers who had safety cars. If the car in front starts ghosting, act as if they're not ghosted, because otherwise it may cause a few more issues as well. And drivers are reminded that if they disconnect during the session, they were not allowed to rejoin the session. That is it. So if they leave the session in the race, then that's their race done. They're not allowed to score any points or score anything in terms of the race. So because of the glitch or penalties, which they don't seem to have fixed. But meanwhile, we'll just go on board with Gonanen actually as he goes towards, just gone past turn 4 and into turn 5. A little bit squirmy there, but again, it's very tricky in these wet conditions. It's not just really light inters. I think it's heavy inters, I must say. It's a bit on the cusp between light rain and heavy rain, but they just got to make do with the inter tyres for now. But we'll have to wait and see who's faster at the moment as he goes around the right-hand curve a little bit, almost hitting the grass there, but he goes to the left there. Obviously, he's purple sets 2 because he's the first person to set a lap. ERS is a bit easier to manage in the wet, so you can really go full beans and set a few laps in these intermediate conditions. So you could try and get a feel for the track a bit more. And these drivers know about the weather, we don't, so they may get a little bit of a feel for it more. As Gonanen is going to set a lap time, let's see what he can do. It's going to be a 1:29.5 for the Red Bull driver. And I did see someone else about to set a lap. I think that's a Alfa Romeo. Luckily, Confessor just got in just in time. I'm not sure he's on an out now. Yep, he's on an out lap. We've got a Renault that's about to finish a lap. And that was Faz. No, he's about to finish one. And then Rafa has improved by 2 seconds already. I wonder if Rafa was hoping for the wet today because he is flying out there.
Well, 1.9 seconds back is Gonanen, and CC Brain can't compete that much. He's 9/10 off as they're all beginning to finish up their laps. Lickle Blocks in second position. He was last in qualifying last time out, so he's going to want to improve on that one. But he is on 8/10 back from Rafa, who already can't be touched, of course. Our last week race winner, doing well so far.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's got a few laps to try and get another lap in. He's going to be on less fuel as well, so I won't be surprised if he does go again, but he's going to be worried that there's going to be traffic as well. His teammate Toxic Tomato is having a few troubles at the moment getting a good lap in, so maybe the pressure is starting to get to him a little bit. He's 8th at the moment. It's definitely not representative of his true pace, of course, but watch out for him in the race if he doesn't climb too much up in qualifying, because he's quick in Hungary in the dry, so something to watch out for as well. Faz has just invalidated. I spoke to a few drivers in before the race, and a majority of drivers have said penalties are basically they are a real thing around this circuit, and you got to try and avoid getting them because otherwise you're going to lose so many positions. So it's less than Austria, but not a lot more than some other tracks on the calendar.
Well, Rafa extending his gap by about 4/10 there already in the 27.1, the full second clear of Confessor, and now CC Brain, who's just put in another lap, goes 6/10 off of Rafa, so that could be a sign of the drivers improving their pace already, probably since they're running lighter fuel, running 2 laps on these intermediate tyres before pitting, but they're going to hope that the track dries up to maybe snag a cheeky pole by switching onto the slicks. It doesn't look like it from the weather right now, and there goes Toxic Tomato, the first driver into the 1:26s. Cameron going 2/10 clear of Rafa.
There we go. We told you that was just a banker lap earlier on. Toxic Tomato knew what he was up against. He was up against his own teammate, and he said, you know what, anything you could do, I could do better. And Rafa's already predicted that his teammate is going to be pole anyway, so at least Rafa will get a prediction right if Toxic Tomato beats him. But you know what, they're teammates, but they're racing drivers. They want to be best of the best, and they want to try and win the £30. Because don't forget, for those are in F2 that finish in the top, they win £30 from Brutal Democracy out of the big prize pool that has been offered for all the tiers, F1, F2 and F3. Obviously, F1 get a 200 prize pot, with the first place getting £120, but we get £30 for F2 tiers. So I think the Williams are going to be the favourites, but there's still drivers that are going to be close getting up there as well. I don't think Toxic Tomato's going again. I think Rafa's not going again. He's got 0 ERS, and Toxic wouldn't have gone again because he has invalidated. People to keep an eye on Benny. He's hoping for his first points this season in F2. He's hoping that he could benefit from other people's mistakes. He thinks that qualifying outside the top 10 will be more beneficial for him, so he gets free tire strategy, but that's going to be out the window because if it's dry, everyone's going to get free tire choice.
Well, Benny, of course, recently joining NWS, which is an up-and-coming esports team, so he's going to be getting help from them and getting advice on how to improve. He didn't have the strongest week last time out, of course, didn't score any points, but this week is the week he's going to want to change all that.
Yep, he does. He seems a bit confident as well. I think he's guided that there is wet conditions, but he's matching the pace quite a bit from the top guys at the moment in F2 in this qualifying session. So if he gains quite a bit in one sector, then he could be up there as well. Skivan is still on a lap, I believe. No, he is not. I think he's on his out lap, or about to go into the pits, that's for sure, with 9 minutes left to go of the session. Thank you to those of you that just joined us for the F2 session. Rafa's gone into the pits and so is his teammate. I think it's going to be just a quiet moment at the moment as they go on to a next set of inters, because they don't have enough inters to last for the whole of the race weekend. They only have about 2 or 3, so you know that is going to be a huge issue for them. It's like real life, remember, in Hungary and obviously in Austria, where they only had 2 of the 4 wets. They got to be careful they don't use too much in the qualifying session, but they're just going to hope that it doesn't look like it's going to improve. It looks like it's going to stay for the whole session. Hopefully I can get an idea of what the weather's going to be in the race, as Big C almost had a bit of a moment going towards the final corner, but he got the car in. Still remains 10th for now, so he's in the top 10, which I think he wants to score higher. That's for sure. Lakitu is still out, and I think he's on a lap now. He's looking to improve and not have no lap. He's got to get a lap pretty quickly, because otherwise it's going to be one-shot quali. That yellow flag is not going to help him. That he might be in the cause of that. I'm not entirely sure, or it might have been some car in front of him. But at least I'm just going to see how his sector 2 split goes as he goes towards that little tight left-hand kink and into the right-hander, and he goes through the back straight. Let's see, 102.2, so obviously he didn't set a lap last time about, so it doesn't say if he has improved, but it is not bad. Oh, and he's invalidated. That is a common... I haven't seen that many people invalidate there, or it might be just me, but that is going to be an issue. But I do believe he has a lot of fuel left, and he's got plenty of ERS too as well, which is a benefit in the wet, so he can go again.
Well, he's just started out on that one, and if he were to complete that lap, he would have gone just ahead of Big C in 11th position, so a decent place, but he would have wanted to be higher, so he's got another opportunity to do that. And I just want to point out that this could be crucial, this qualifying, because we could see who's on a wet setup if the race is dry, and who's on a dry one. You see some drivers who performed pretty well last time out, like I guess Big C and TC Brain. They're all quite far down the grid, whilst we got a lot of drivers who weren't normally at the front, at the top there. So it could be an indication that the guys at the top are running wet setups, which of course is going to negatively impact them in a dry race, as I think Fass is just about to complete a lap right now in the Renault. He was purple through the second sector, at least on my screen, and a couple tenths improving. He was a couple tenths up, so he could maybe displace one of the Williams. He crossed the line, and he improved, but not by enough.
He was the 4th guy to go into the 126s, as well as Pablo, who's also in the 126s as well. So that's pretty good. The top 4 separated by a few tenths. If I just get a gap to leader, top 9 separated by 9 tenths. So we're not going to get as close as last week, but it's the rain. They have mixed abilities when it comes to the wet weather. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are in between it. So that's what you're going to expect, as we do see, I think, one of the Williams getting held up there. And just look at the gap between Rafa and Toxic. Only 8 100ths, well, almost 9 100ths of a second between the two. So they must have been practicing quite a lot together as well. Will not doing too bad in 10th place with just 5 minutes left to go. I think a few drivers were speaking to me as well before about the most difficult points of the circuit. Hardest corners, I think, usually turn 2, turn 5, and in particular the last right-hand, I usually find the last right-hand a bit tricky as well, so that's probably where we'll see a few invalidations, as Rapper's gone purple sector 2. He's only quicker by 5/100ths of a second, but he's going to try and see if he can improve even more on his lap time. He's probably on 3 lap older tyres, but I think it's showing that it's not going to be into the start of the race. So we're going to have to wait and see. Is he going to go in? He's in the 1:26.6. He improves by, well, I didn't see how much he improved on, but he's 2/10ths quicker now than Toxic Tomato, his teammate. Is Toxic Tomato out? Oh, he invalidated. So he's going into the pits now. And he only has about 4 minutes to set one final lap and displace his teammate. But yeah, it doesn't have that long. And Odems is showing that he's a qualifying king as well. He's in 4th place as well. Let's hopefully convert his qualifying pace to his race pace as well.
Well, of course, he disconnected last time out in Austria, so he's going to pray, and he's actually invalidated there, but he was 2/10ths down to the first sector anyways, so it wasn't much going to come out of that lap. But, of course, he did disconnect. He's going to pray that his internet is on his side. Lady Luck is going to help him out, but 4th position for the Alfa Romeo and 6th for his teammate. Both those drivers doing pretty strongly right now. Could be maybe a thorn in the side of the Williams later on in the season.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, they're the 2 most experienced drivers in this tier. Both of them have been F1 drivers in the past. Lickleblocks was PSGL F1 from season 29 all the way to season 25. And the only time he hasn't been in F1 was obviously this season in season 26. So he's looking to go back into F1 next season or even midway this season if he can prove himself. But at the moment, he's proving himself right at the moment. He's won PSGL 2 times actually in F1. He's looking to add quite a few to F2, and one could benefit from this strategy as he goes towards the final corner to set one of his final laps, and I think Pablo is about to do the same. Yes, he is. So the Williams are just waiting to the last possible moment, and that is crucial around this circuit. The track will evolve as the session goes on, and you want to be one of the last people there, but you don't want to leave it too late.
Well, of course, if you leave it too late, you might either completely miss out or only have one opportunity to get a lap in, which could be risky since you can invalidate. You haven't got that extra time to do another lap, as I think a couple drivers have given up on this qualifying session. I don't see a lot of these guys getting out on time and coming in for another lap, but we've still got a couple drivers out on track right now trying to put in laps. Big C did 7 laps on the same set of intermediate tyres, and he's got into 7th place. Both Williams, no, not Williams, Mercedes currently occupying the 4th row of the grid right now.
Yeah, obviously Midnight beat Big C last week, and I think there's going to be some nice team rivalry going on between these two, and they're a good pairing as well, so they're going to help each other as well. And both of these guys, obviously F1 veterans in the past, so you would expect them to challenge the likes of Toxic and Rafa. Midnight almost actually got ahead of Toxic, but Toxic managed to pull off a good gap in order for Midnight to stay in 3rd place. But we got to the Williams out on their flying laps, but look at Pablo out of nowhere, 1:26.3. Few 3/10ths quicker. Golonen goes quicker as well, and I can say the track is improving, but quite a lot actually. The Williams need to get their act together here.
Well, they are just about to come up to start their laps. They're only going to have one opportunity as Toxic Tomato's beginning his lap. Rafa just been overtaken by, I think, Pat it was, as Benny jumps into 5th. The track really is changing, and if you've been caught out by staying in the pits too long, which no driver has, as Pat goes 3rd, you can see the track really is changing now for the better.
Yeah, there's less rain, I've got to say, around this circuit, and I think everyone is it's going to be absolutely fine. They're going to make it to the end, so if they weren't out, then it's going to be an issue. Skivan and Lakitu got to get a move on though if they want to get a validated lap, otherwise they're going to be starting from the back of the grid. Well, there was a few people, Lickleblocks I believe, invalidated last week, and there was a few other people as well. The Keto now goes fastest, first driver into the 125s. I mean, that is impressive. So, I mean, I don't know who's going to get pole position. We're seeing the likes of the Williams drivers now being pushed all the way down. I mean, let's see how Rafa is going in sector 2. Is Toxic Tomato ahead of him? I don't even know, to be honest. Yeah, I believe he is. Yes, he is. We've got a Haas in between. Purple sector 2 by 1 tenth. So Toxic is improving. What about Rafa? He was purple as well, 3 tenths. So this may be a battle between the Williams drivers. We'll have to wait and see. But we've got a few people crossing the line as the checker flag has fallen. And Kurat's can't improve. He stays 5th. Golan stays 7th. Benny stays 8th. And we got the Williams of Toxic. He only got improved to 9th place. What about Rafa? Can he get pole position off Lakitu? Yes, he can. It's 125.0 for him. Toxic Tomato could only manage 11th. But we got Faz in the Renault driver who really impressed us in the pre-season race. Looking quite quick out at the moment. We'll see if he can get pole off Rafa. It is possible. And he beats Rafa. 125.050. The key to, he saw Faz could do it. Can he do better than Faz this time? This is going to be insane. Rule now goes up to 3rd. The key to is 2nd. So at the moment, it is a Renault 1-2. Pablo got pole for 1 second earlier on in the session. He could be the favourite at the moment, and he only manages 4th place. We got Lickle Blockcarts across the line, only sit. We got Skeven. Nope, he's not going to improve. I think we just got Big C, who's about to cross the line. He was quicker than before, and he stays in the top 10 in 9th place. And I think the only person who's across the line is Kurax, but he's finished a lap. But the same story as last week with one team occupying the front row, but it's not the team we're expecting. It's Renault.
That really did come out of nowhere. The top 4 separated by less than a tenth. And look at that, Confessor's got a 5-place grid penalty. Or I'm going to check the race director to see what happened there. You can actually see in the race director how many invalid lap times there were. And it was a collision with Pablo Jogler. I'm not sure what happened there with Confessor, but he's going to be starting from 9th, and you can run through the order.
Here we go. So Faz on his first pole position in F2 with Lakitu in 2nd, Rafa in 3rd, Confessor 4th, Pablo in 5th, Will started where he finished in 6th. We've got Little Block, CC Brain, Big C, Kurat, we've got Ski Van Pat, Gonanen, Benny, Toxic Tomato in 15th. He has to do a last 2 challenge by the looks of things, and we got Name Changer and Midnight in last place. The moment we've all been waiting for, how is the weather going to change for the race? Is it going to be a dry race? We're going to have to find out as we load into qualifying. And it's wet again.
Oh, wow.
So I wonder if the inters they used in qualifying is going to come into effect here.
Well, that's quite interesting. That means 2 races in a row have started out in the wet conditions. Will we have the same glitch as last week, where they all started on the slick tires, or will they get to finally start on?
We shall see, of course. And I'm trying to see, Dan, what tyres they are on. And on the garage, but it's just I can't tell if it's white hards or if it's green inters. It looks like white hards to me by the looks of things, but we are just loading in, so we will find out. It might look like white hards, so it may be a similar situation to what we seen last week. That's going to make things a hell of a lot interesting. But at least if that's the case, they will have 3 choice of tyres going into the session, and so they will be a lot more in control of what is going to be in the race. So let me get the tyres up.
They're on inters.
They're on inters. So I do believe the top 10, they'll be starting on the ones I actually know. I'm not sure they get 3 choice tyres or not, but that's impossible to tell. I've never been in a situation where it's been wet in quali and wet in the race, but it's less rainy than it was in the start of qualifying. So that's going to make things very interesting. But who do you think's going to win the race? Because I don't know.
Oh, he's got 2 on the bounce if you include pre-season. So I'm going to say that Rafa's going to take this win. He's got such good momentum. He was unlucky to miss out on pole position. Of course, he was less than a 10th off. And but one driver I expect to do well is Toxic Tomato, last week's pole sitter by 1/10. He's starting way down in 15th. Not where he would have thought he'd have been starting, behind the Haas car.
Yep, he's a guy that likes to make some moves, and due to the fast driver that he is, he's the one that could do that and benefit from other people's mistakes. So I wonder if he's going to use that momentum, see what his teammate has done, and carry that pace, really. And if he pulls off that performance, like a Max Verstappen-esque performance, then that'll be amazing. So we'll have to wait and see. One thing that you probably have noticed, and you may have noticed it in the previous PSGL tiers earlier on this week, and the F4 and the F5 tiers are also happening now. They all got their own numbers now. They don't have the 44, 63, 30, whatever numbers they are. They all have their own multiplayer driver numbers, which was put in the new patch recently, and it gives them a nice touch, I think. So it gives each other a flair, and it's easy for us to identify who's who. So yeah, so if you notice that they've got different numbers, then that's why.
Well, they all line up in the grid slots coming up soon. It's Faz on pole, the Keto in second. So the Renaults are locking out the front row. They can carry this momentum forward, and again challenge for good points here today. As I'll let you take the start.
As we're just waiting for the final few drivers to go on to the grid, the last driver that will be going to the grid will be Midnight in the Mercedes. 35 laps await our drivers today. And we may see something similar to last week, but this time it will be the intermediate tyres come into full effect here. So 5 red lights about to come up on your screens right now. It's going to be a very long hole. There we go. 4 lights, 5 lights. And we are underway. And it looks like one of the Renaults have had a decent start and the others haven't. So we'll see which one has the good starts. Both the Renaults line up in a 2-turn at once. So at the moment, it's the Keto that's trying to go around the right-hand side of Faz, but Faz has the edge at the moment. But as you can see, Rafa is already trying to make a move already on Nikita into turn 2. And he is showing his pace right at the moment, and he is right in the sandwich of the Renault cars at the moment. Pablo also having a good start up into 4th place, and I can't see who else is in what position because the timings have glitched, so hopefully that will get fixed at some point. But we can already see the Mercedes of Midnight trying to get a move past the Haas car and the Red Bull, and they made a bit of contact there. That's not good. Name change and Benny having a battle up front as well, but Faz, he's came out of nowhere, got pole, and he's controlling the race already. What a brilliant start.
Well, 6/10 ahead of Rafa already, who's really underfueled the car. You can see on the telemetry he's got that yellow fuel light. That means he's going to have to save, but it gave him the power to have a good start and get past Lakitu. Good moves further down the grid though, as here comes Skeven trying to make a move on Lickle Blocks for 8th place, as now he has to concede to the Alfa Romeo car. Alfa Romeo running 7th and 8th, so good performance from them so far.
Yep, indeed, especially from Lickle Blocks as well. CT Brain doing well up into 6th place, as well as Lickle Blocks goes into the pits actually.
Got damage.
Yeah, they got damaged, so he might have picked it up from somewhere. I wonder where that was. Maybe if you check Race Director and find out what that was, potentially, but it may not tell us who. And yeah, but it's damage, and another set of inters. He goes there. Faz is starting to pull the gap between himself and Rafa, so I wonder what Rafa is going to do in terms of race laps, see if he can get past. Meanwhile, Totti Tomato's having a good start, up into 10th place. He just got past Pat in the racing point. He's showing he's one of the fastest drivers up there. He wants to get some good points today. He wants to help Williams. He doesn't want any team to close in on that gap. And we also got Big C being challenged as well, and two of the veterans being challenged at the moment. This is exciting to watch. A 7-time F1 champion versus a season 24 F2 champion are going into battle here. I can't wait.
Well, as they're just coming through the middle sector, it's really tricky to overtake here. I don't think Toxic Tomato is going to rush it too much to get by the Mercedes car, but he's already up 5 positions off the start. He's had a really good getaway. He's the biggest mover so far, as he might have an opportunity on Big C through turn number 1, of course, that is going to come up after the long straight. There's going to be no DRS for the drivers in the wet condition as now they begin at lap number 3. Normally we would see the DRS being enabled, but of course they don't have that luxury in the wet conditions.
Here comes Toxic Tomato then to the right-hand side into turn number 1. Not much challenge from Big C at the moment as Toxic Tomato gets a better entry into the corner. And there he goes, Toxic Tomato up into 9th place. Only 1.6 seconds behind Skivan. So let's see if we can find a little bit more grip and momentum to see if he can get past the AlphaTauri driver as well. Pablo doing well in 4th place, trying to get past Lakita. He's setting purple, I think, set to 1 as well. So he wants to try and get his first podium in F2. That would be pretty great to see, wouldn't it? He was also, I believe, in the Esports Cup in PSGL as well, and he did quite well too. Or he was either the first Esports Cup or the second Esports Cup. I can't remember which one it was, but he tried to do his best for the team anyway, and he's still shining his best in 4th place in the McLaren. Don't forget, he didn't score any points last week. He didn't have a really good result, but I'm sure he'll be pretty happy with that. He finished 15th last week, and he had a DNF in Australia in a pre-season race. So he's looking to bounce back after a horrible first race.
And of course, he was trying to make a different strategy work, and he was really pushing the limits of the intermediate tyres, and it actually resulted in him getting a puncture, and he had to come into the pit. So that was what really unraveled his race. But running in 4th place right now, that's where he wants to be. It's Toxic Tomato, already closing up to the back of Skiban. He's got within a second, and he's set the fastest lap of the race. This man is on a charge.
Yep. It is. This is going to be absolutely exciting, and I think the gaps are now starting to increase now. So I think it's harder to overtake, especially in the wet. So I think we're not going to see that many battles to start with, but we may see ones who are faster in the midfield start to climb up a little bit again. You can see Toxic Tomato already 7 tenths behind Skivan. That's how quick he is at the moment. This is very, very impressive as well. I do like his helmet, by the way. That's one advantage of them getting custom numbers. We get to see their custom helmets as well. So they don't get the real-life driver helmets, they get their own. So it has a little bit of a flair to them and more motivation for them to do well, of course. As Skivan is lagging a bit as well on my screen. Well, he's showing 1 bar, but he's still driving all right at the moment, so he should be okay as we start lap 4, of course. Now, we've seen last week the Inters are not lasting very long around Austria. I think it lasts a bit longer around here. I don't know. I haven't got facts about how long they last around here, but I think they last slightly longer due to the fact that tyre deg is not too bad if it was on the mediums, but it is like normal intermediate conditions, so it should last a little bit longer. As Toxic Tomato now 6 tenths. Rafa the same gap to Faz. So Rafa's starting to close in. I think he was saving a little bit on that last lap because he didn't want to push on his tyres. Maybe the tyres are getting a little bit too hot. Don't forget, in the formation lap, they had to warm their tyres a little bit more because I would have seen, if I was a driver, I would have seen the tyres being stone cold in these wet conditions. So that's why some people may have not got a good start.
Well, if you're sitting on the grid for longer, which was the case for these guys at the front, they would have been waiting and letting the heat out of their tyres for the last drivers coming through. So that could be the reason why Toxic Tomato had such a good getaway in terms of that. He's really getting close to the back of Skivan. He's just half a second back through the chicane. As this fight for 10th position, actually. Oh, sorry, for 10th position. They are so close together. It's stretching from 10th all the way down to 14th. So 5 cars involved in this train here, which is really how Hungary is. You're just following in trains throughout most of the lap. These guys keeping it tight-knit.
Yes, they are. And all it takes is for someone to make a mistake and that's their race over. But you can see the 2 racing points are fighting for every bean. They want to get a better result than last week. Big C obviously wants to get some points again, and he's going to try his best to hold up these two as Pat trying, not getting any slipstream from obviously his teammate or Big C, so maybe he's trying to cover off the guys behind. We've got Mercedes, Racing Point, and Mercedes as well, so Midnight's got to try and get past these as well. Name changer as well. We got two of the Red Bulls, and then we got the Haas, and then we got Liquid Blocks, who's already pitted down in last place at the moment. But I've got to say, I don't know who's going to get the battle for 10, but that can make all the difference if you don't get any penalties, because again, penalties is a big factor in this game. It is harder to get in the wet, sometimes easier to get in the wet at times, but we did see someone get a penalty and wasn't sure who that was, but we saw last week's race winner get decided by penalties. Toxic doesn't want to be in that position now, but the race win is not far from his grasp. He can still overtake some of these cars who are quicker than him. CT Brain getting a 3-second time penalty as well.
Well, Toxic Tomato only 8.3 seconds back from Faz right now, so if these guys are getting penalties and Toxic's just keeping it clean, he can really make a charge for the order, especially if there's a safety car later on in the Grand Prix where all the cars are bunched up together. It will be tight to see who is where at the end of that.
Yeah, exactly. Here comes Toxic Tomato then on Ski Van. Again, not that close to him, but he got a good entry into turn 1. That's brilliant from him. If he had DRS then, I think surely he would have got the move. But obviously DRS is disabled in these wet conditions, so all they're going to rely on is the slipstream from the other cars, as it's hard to pass around turn 3 and into turn 4 as they all go up the hill heading towards the tight, tricky little chicanes coming up here. And now into turn, I think it's turn 5. I'm not entirely sure. I need to get my turns, sorted, eventually as well. Ski Van's not that far behind for Confessor, so Confessor might be struggling a little bit.
It's in AI mode.
Yeah, he's in AI mode, so he might be disconnected again. That's not good. A reminder for the stewards that told us, if you disconnect, then you can't take part in any races. But he's not ghosted, so I think he's still carrying on. I think it may just be that he's having internet issues and he's still going, but I just hope he carries on, because otherwise it's going to be another race where he's disconnected and there'll be another DNF for him. Meanwhile, in the process, Toxic got past Odems, and I wonder if he's going to get past Ski Van once again. Conditions are, you can still see a hint of blue sky, but not a lot. It's just dark clouds at the moment. The sun is starting to peep up, but I don't think the conditions are going to change anytime soon. They haven't told us at all about the weather. Again, Toxic Tomato closing off to Ski Van, but Ski Van getting a better straight line speed there, which is helping him get P7 for now.
Well, look at the ERS that Toxic Tomato is having to use. He's got hardly anything left, and I think Midnight's gone in through turn number 1 there. He seems to have dropped it on exit. He might have made contact with someone. I didn't see it, but now he's out of that fight for 10th position, which is so hotly contested right now. I don't know if he's got damage or not. I can maybe see. He's got I think his wing's clean at the moment, so he's good to carry on. That was a worrying moment for him.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame from Midnight. Hopefully he can bounce back. Of course, he got P3 last week, but maybe he doesn't like the rain as much, so maybe some of these guys will be wanting to improve on their wet setups potentially as well. But the race is still far from over. We're already on lap 8, and there's still people trying to get some moves done. Rafa's still on the back of Faz. He's still matching his pace, but still Faz is a lot faster. The fastest lap is set by Toxic Tomato though, but you can see Rafa is catching. I think he's faster in some sectors than Faz, but I think Faz is just managing to get the straight line speed he needs. I think the Williams are having a struggle with this straight line speed this weekend by the sounds of things, because of the way the other cars in front are trying to attack really well, actually, which is great to see. It's nice to see people challenging the Williams for victories, and it's nice to see also Faz, an outsider, still leading in lap 9. Maybe he could potentially be a dark horse to be winning this race if he keeps it up. It's got to be on pit strategy really to decide if he still wins this race. If he messes up his pit strategy, then his race will win over. So Faz has got to think on his feet.
Well, he was in the midfield of F3 last season, so he's really come out of nowhere. And not many people would have been expecting Faz to be challenging for a win, especially this early on in the season. But Rafa might have two things to say about that, as he's still just hanging on to the coattails of the Renault car. He's in a bit of a Renault sandwich right now, and Renault is actually looking to have some good points here today. Of course, Lakitu had a couple spins last time out, so he's going to be happy to be running in third. And of course, Faz in a bit of an unfamiliar place in F2. He's never led a race, but here's your moment, son.
Yeah, I think he hasn't not led a lap this race so far as well, and he's handling the pressure quite nicely actually. And again, Rafa's having a similar issue to what Toxic Tomato has as well, and because of that, that's allowing Faz's teammate Lakitu to really bring these guys in. He could be in the battle for second place as well, and that could really hinder Williams' chance in the we can close in the gap on the constructors. I think Williams will still be leading after this, but Renault will just close in just a little bit more, because I know Renault will want that 1-2 because Williams managed it last week. I've got to say, strong performance from Lakitu this weekend so far. He got P2 in qualifying. He didn't get a good start to the race, but he's coming back and he's closing in onto Rafa by just a few tenths, so he can still get P2 in this race. Don't forget, he was also in F1 last season, but obviously I think most of these guys who were in F1 last season were using line and still are, but maybe for some races they could try and turn the line off to get used to it. But you know, they're having their glory, and it's great for them to see their glory at this stage. Can Lakitu get his first podium in a while? We'll have to wait and see. Maybe Pablo, maybe Will as well. Will's gained one position, he's up into P5, so again, Will having a really good race too.
Well, he dominated in the F3 preseason race. That secured him a spot in F2, and he got a good amount of points. It was 6th place last time out in Austria for him. He's running 5th right now, so consistently scoring these good points will help him in the championship. Of course, he is a reserve, so AlphaTauri isn't getting any of these points. Of course, Josh, he hasn't been able to make it for the first 2 races for whatever reason, but Will has stepped up and filled his shoes.
I think if Josh doesn't turn up next week, I won't be surprised if the league admin says, you know what, Will, you're doing well, you're in, you're full time. I won't be surprised if they do that, because you would expect someone who was dominating a lower tier to just fall on the wayside, but Will is definitely not. He's doing amazing, matching most of these drivers' pace, as Toxic Tomato has got a 3-second time penalty. We've seen him getting a penalty last week that cost him the race victory. Will this penalty cost him a few more positions in this race? I really hope it doesn't, but I won't be surprised if some of these guys get penalties as well. We'll just have to wait and see when these guys pit. We don't know when they're going to pit. It may be the same time as the mediums, which is roughly, if I get my notes up, as I can't seem to find my notes about the strategy. I think I might have put it on the wrong spreadsheet. I might have put it on the online spreadsheet instead of the offline one, but around about, I think, 13 to 15 laps I would expect people to pit for the inters, or maybe they will try to go to around about lap 20. We'll have to wait and see, but again, it does depend on the setup. Let's see if Toxic Tomato English. Let's see if Toxic Tomato can get past Skiba. Now he could not, but Rafa is on the back of Faz by quite a bit. Again, he can't get past. No major overtakes at the moment, but this could be proved wrong. We've got Big C trying to make a move past Confessor into turn number 1, and he's going to show that you can overtake in Hungary. And what a move from Big C. He's up into the 9th place. I know 2 points may not mean much for some of these guys, but a point's a point. An extra point could make a difference in between 1 place in the championship. So brilliant stuff. He's only 6'10". Always name changes got past Confessor as well. Confessor is struggling with his tyres. He's always getting caught up by Gonanen as well. But yeah, Big C doing very well as well. I don't think Toxic Tomato's going to get past. Yeah, Gonan's got past Confessor as well. He is struggling on those inters. If I was Confessor right now, I would go and pit for the fresh set. Maybe try and do a 2-stop potentially, because you know there's no way that he's controlling those tyre temperatures well it will be better on the fresh air tyres because already he's going to be in last place, second to last. Both the Alphas not doing very well because it's a shame. It's quite similar to real life qualifying for those Alpha drivers.
Well, once again, Confessor, he was in AI mode for pretty much that entire middle sector. I think he might be out of it now, but Pat managed to pick up the scraps, get into 10th position, and still challenge Big C in that Mercedes car. The Mercedes being one of only two teams, the other Williams, to have both drivers in the points last time out. Everyone else only had one car or none, but it's looking unlikely for that result to come out as Midnight running down in 14th position.
Yeah, but you never know. We may have see the likes of people in front of them get penalties, and Midnight's usually clean with the penalties, so that can help him a little bit. As Goddinen has probably listened to the advice about Confessor and not him, but he is going into the pit to try and do the undercut. So I would be expecting a few people to pit now. Actually, I think it was no damage, I don't think. I didn't see if he did get it, but I think it may just been a stop for him. I will expect him to probably stop once more because there's no way those tyres are going to make it to the end. Because obviously there's 13 laps on those inters, so he's got to manage those tyre temps a little bit more. Will the front runners respond to the Red Bulls in demeanours and try and go into the pit? We'll have to find out. Faz stays out. Don't forget they've got to commit to the pit entry. They can't just do a little dummy and then, then stay out. They can't do that.
Looks like these guys are able to manage their tyres for a little bit longer. No one aside from Gonanen and Lickleblocks have come into the pit lane.
I think we seem to have lost Dan for a little bit there, so we'll continue anyway, as it might be just Discord having a little bit of a moment there as well. So we've got a few more drivers going into the pit lane as Pat and Name Changer going in as they're going on to fresh air inters as well. No damage from neither of the cars, so there they go. Luckily Dan is back, so that's good news. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with Discord tonight. It's having a little bit of issues, but hopefully it'll get fixed at some point. But I wonder what these other drivers are going to be doing as Pat comes ahead of Confessor, but not Lickleblocks. Lickleblocks is still ahead of Pat, but surely with those fresher tyres, Pat is going to get past the other Alpha.
Well, Lickle has been on these tyres for essentially the start of the race, and he's going to be struggling to keep up the performance. I'll tell you why I disconnected. I accidentally turned on Siri, so
a
mistake on my behalf.
You might have almost done it again there, so make sure you mute that.
Oh dear.
You're fine now. You're fine now, but just don't mention the S word again, and then you should be fine. Yeah, I've almost done it today at my work meeting, where I'll talk about that at the end of the stream. But yeah, that wasn't good. But it wasn't the S word; it was the A word. So yeah, and so sorry I couldn't hear that. As Big C goes into the pits now for his first stop, and obviously he's got the first pit stop, so he's going to get it out of the way, out of the other Mercedes cars. First of the top 10 to Blink, which is interestingly enough a good pit stop for the Mercedes crew. Well done to him. He goes in on another set of the intermediate tyres. We've got Rafa still closing in on Faz, but again still not going to make the move. Maybe Rafa may use his opportunity like his teammate to pit, but maybe they will be in team communication on who's going to pit first. I wonder if Toxic's going to get the first dibs first because he's so far behind and he's got traffic to deal with as well, or will he try and get past Ivan and then pit? It's all up to how the drivers are managing these tyres as well, but obviously they got to respond to the undercut. If as soon as one driver pits, they've got to pit as well, because otherwise they're going to lose so much time. Name Changer, I think, responded to Gonanen as well. Pat goes past Name Changer, so again Name Changer's race has gone from bad to worse. What is Faz doing again? Faz is staying out. None of the top 5 are blinking at this stage, so I'm guessing they're the top 5 for the reason. They can manage their tyres much better than the midfield.
Toxic.
Oh, Toxic. Toxic's in the pits then. So I had a feeling Toxic was going to go first, because obviously he was stuck in a bit more traffic than Rafa, but, you know, I think if you were stuck in more traffic, you would probably be struggling on tyres, so that's why some of these guys are pitting earlier. So there goes Toxic on another set of the intermediate tyres. Benny goes and does the same. He's still getting for his first points, but it is still possible as Toxic comes out. Where does he come out ahead of, I wonder? Still Midnight, still yet to pit, so he'll be ahead of Midnight afterwards. Will he be ahead of the others? Yes, he will. He just got ahead of Benny as well, so he's going to be in a good position once everybody else pits. He might get ahead of Skivan, actually, if he gets a good lap together. Skivan's got to respond to that, surely.
Well, of course, they were both following so closely throughout this entire race. Toxic was struggling to get by Skivan, so maybe this undercut would have worked out for him. And it could also maybe bring Toxic Tomato ahead of CC Brain. He struggled to get ahead of Skivan, so it could maybe give Toxic a couple more positions than he would have actually expected. But of course, he's got that 3-second time penalty to deal with later on in the Grand Prix. So he's got to be quick.
Yep, he's got to, really, to be honest. We'll have to wait and see if Skivan is going to go into the pits. He does not. So I want...
That's because of Will.
As Will is going in, so I think they're prioritising the driver that's in front. Now that's interesting, because Williams prioritised the driver that was behind, whereas AlphaTauri are prioritising the one that's front. I wonder what's going on in the garages. Maybe Will's faster and can help the team a little bit more, potentially can cover off the likes of Skivan and Toxic. Maybe Will might have a battle with Toxic Tomato soon, and actually Toxic is not that far behind Will, so if Toxic could catch up to Will, then he can hold him up. Well, Will could hold Toxic up just a little bit, and Skivan can get ahead. Maybe they're playing the team game right here, because Skivan, like we said earlier, is the only driver from AlphaTauri that's scoring points today, so I'm guessing that's what these guys are doing.
Well, we also saw Lakitu come to the pits instead of Fuzz. So Faz, you're gonna have to expect him to come into the pit lane. We're actually at the halfway point of this Grand Prix. So well, if they've lasted this long, they're gonna be able to go to the end. Whereas some drivers might have doubts later on. But Faz should really come into the pit lane here, and he will. That Renault car pulling into the pits, and Pablo, and most likely CC Brain and Skivan too.
Yep, here we go. Faz goes in, Pablo goes in. This is going to be crucial right now, because Rafa is ahead in terms of pit stops. Obviously, he pitted earlier on as well. Let's see if Rafa could get that undercut on Faz. And Pablo's not that far behind as well. So this could be a three-way battle for the lead here right now. So here we go then. Rafa, let's see where Rafa is compared to his rivals.
He's ahead.
He's ahead at the moment, so that is interesting. So for some reason, the pit window has popped up on my screen. So did he get damage? I don't know, but for Rafa. But yeah, Rafa's ahead by 1.7 seconds. So Rafa had a good in-lap, that's for sure, whereas Faz has had maybe not a good pit stop potentially. We'll see. The undercut's been very powerful for most of these drivers right now. As apart from Will and Toxic, Will is still ahead of Toxic, and Skivan is behind Toxic Tomato. So the two Williams drivers definitely played the strategy to perfection here.
But of course, once CC Brain comes into the pit lane, the only driver yet to make a pit stop, I believe, he's going to come out probably behind Toxic Tomato and Skivan. So I don't quite know why he stayed out this long. Maybe just trying to extend the tyre life a little bit more, just so we can get some more life later on in the race. I have no clue, but he's staying out on track, so I don't quite know what CC Brain is doing in that Ferrari.
I think he's trying to do a one-stop, because for some of these guys, they may try and do a two-stop or try and nurse those tyres to the end, because we may get into puncher territory. We'll see. But he's going to lose a chunk of time. We did see Green lose a chunk of time on those mediums last week in the halfway phase of the race. Maybe CC Brain might be making the same mistake, but let's hope that he can have a good in-lap now, and then he can go into the pit and he should be absolutely fine, and then he could be ahead of some of these guys. Now Rafa is pulling away like no tomorrow now. 2.3 seconds separate between him and Faz. Because he's faster than Faz on laps in this race, it's allowing him to find a few tenths per lap on him. and increase that gap. He's got clean air in front and behind him, so he doesn't need to worry about him getting held up. This is definitely what Rafa wants at this late stage of the race. If you're ahead now, that's really going to help you in these final stages.
Well, he's probably rubbing his hands together because he's about to make it 3 races in a row that he's won in F2.
Wow.
As Skeevan's actually got a time penalty.
Yep, he did. I think that was another 3 second, I believe, as well. So that is a bit of a shame. I think he's getting caught up by Confessor, who's ghosted right now. And I do believe Confessor has disconnected, but I'm sure we will hear a bit more soon. Again, CC Brain stays out. Lickle Blocks, I believe, will need to, even though he's pitted, he'll definitely need to pit again. There's no way he can nurse those tyres till the end, but he wants to try and make those tyres last as long as possible. You can see Rafa getting the fastest lap again. Will he be the driver again to get maximum points in a row? We've got a yellow flag, and that is Confessor. Yeah, final corner. He's not liking those tyres. Is he trying to retire? He's trying to retire the car, surely. By the way, he's driving. I don't think you're meant to do that in PSGL, so I think you'll be getting a telling off from that one. You're meant to be retiring from the pits, but by the looks of the way he's driving, it looks like he's given up, but there's no point in you giving up. Yes, he's given up. So I think, as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I think you're not allowed to retire on track in F2. So I think you'll be having a word from the stewards later on and saying, what have you done? Why are you meant to do that? But he did retire safely, and I think there was no other cars. So I think you'll probably be let off with that one so far. So I think the only other battles we've got are maybe between Pablo and Lakitu. And then we got a train again for 10th place for the final point. 9th place, actually. Lickle Blocks, Big C, Pat, Name Changer, Kurax. And if Benny can catch up to this, if this battle stays alive for much longer, maybe Benny as well. So this is not a DRS train. This is the Lickle Blocks train.
Well, choo-choo to that, but Lickle does have to make another pit stop because his tyres are going to be falling off the cliff at this point. So he's going to have to make another pit stop. He's not going to come in this time by, but Big C won't be happy that he's holding him up this much. He's lost 11 seconds to Skeevan just by being held up behind him. And I just want to check. On the last lap, it was a 28.6 from CC Brain, and Rafa did a 26.7. So he is so much quicker. 1.9 seconds on that lap taken out from the Ferrari car.
Don't forget, the pole time in the wet was a 1:25.0, I believe. 1:25.0 from these guys. And we're already almost into the nitty-gritty. And wait a minute.
Rafa just got a penalty.
Rafa's just got a penalty, but also, it may just be me, Dan, but I see no rain. The track's drying up.
CC Brain, he predicted it.
Wow.
He's just got to nurse those tyres for a couple more laps until the track is drying off of slicks. But I think Rafa's still going to get past him here. So it's going to be a case of whether he can hold off Faz and Lakitu to really benefit from staying out this long.
So the dry tyres will come into effect. That's maybe why CC Brain was pushing those tyres to the limit on these final few stages, mainly because he knew that the track was going to dry up like this. I mean, if he plays his cards right, it's going to be absolutely amazing, but it's nowhere near the time to pit for dries yet. So CC Brain is just going to hope that the track dries quickly enough, because otherwise he's going to get into puncher territory. Lickle Blocks in the same boat, but you can see Lickle Blocks is struggling on those worn intermediate tyres, because he's got Big C and Pat still chasing him right now. Let's see if Big C's going to try and make the lunge into turn 2. No, he doesn't. We got Name Changer actually trying to make a overtake that you possibly wouldn't see in Hungary that much, but he's going to go for it anyway, and he's going to try and take the risk. He's going to try and take the gamble on the Racing Point driver. Let's see, he's going to have a look. He's gaining. We've got the other Racing Point. Oh, no. There's contact. Huge contact, and we got Pat, who is out of the race, and we've got a virtual safety car. There was a few drivers that got a little bit too greedy there.
That, that's so unfortunate for Pat. It was inevitable running side by side through turn number 4. It's a one-car corner. You're not going to get through it, the two of you. I don't know where the blame lies there, but all I know is that he's out of this race, and here comes CC Brain into the pit. It's medium tyres for the Ferrari car, and Skeevan's got a drive-through penalty.
So you'll have to serve that first, surely, for Skeevan. So his advantage is
Skeevan's out.
Oh, he's out of the race as well. Where did he retire? Oh, did he retire in the pit lane? Yeah, he retired in the pit lane. Did he?
He lost it out the final corner. That
I see him
on board with Lickle.
I see him. Oh, that's awful. I think it was due to. I think he just lost control. I think surely, but I think CC Brain will be the person to watch out for. But you can see CC Brain is struggling on those mediums. I think the gamble is not paying off. He's swerving all over the place, but to be honest, he didn't want to get a puncher, to be honest, so I'm guessing he had to take the risk, but the risk is not paying off, but at least those tyres could make it to the end, even though the rear ends might lose it just a little bit there, so yeah, he's not going to risk on that strategy here. Big C has got the move on Lickle Blocks. Brilliant send from him.
What?
He means business, and he's up into 8th place. Lickle Blocks, I think it's going to hope the track's drying up even more, but it's not. It's still, you can still see the spray on the circuit, so I wonder what Lickle Blocks is thinking right now.
Well, he's not going to be happy with how this race has turned out for him. He doesn't want to come into the pit lane and then fit on another set of intermediates and then come out and the track is completely dry. But he can't stay out too much longer because he's going to get a puncture.
Yeah, well, obviously, I think it was CC Brain that managed to get 22 laps on those inters. So I think he should be fine for a few more laps, but it's just no sign. I remember in Hungary when it was wet to dry, where the track basically dry almost instantly, but it's definitely not in this circuit. As we can see, Kurax is almost certainly going to get the move, but you can see the way Lickle Blocks is defending. Yeah, they're getting a bit aggressive there, but it is hard but fair racing as Name Changer almost going for the send on both of them. Again, Name Changer making a little bit of a risk there. He's up into 9. Oh my goodness, Name Changer's gone off. He's down into 13th place. That risk did not pay off. He had a good send earlier on, but the way he approached that just wasn't good, and he's now down to 13th place. He's got a lot of dirty air to contend with now.
Well, with all that going on, Benny finds himself in 9th position.
In the points at the moment.
That's points for him. And Midnight's in the points as well after having his spin out of turn number 1 maybe 10 laps ago. So CC Brain, the gamble's really not paid off for him. He's falling down the order, and he's soon going to be in last position once Gonanen gets by here. But it's certainly around turn number 5. It looks a lot more wet than it does in the 3rd sector. From what I saw, there's a lot of spray in the 2nd sector, but there's hardly anything in that final part of the track.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed around these conditions, to be honest. And I think that's probably why it isn't. You can still see the clouds. It's still quite dark. You can see a bit of sun, so that's probably why it's not drying up that much, and that is why these people have to be on these inters for quite a bit. Don't forget, these inters, they're not going to last the entire race. Most of these guys will have to pit again, so I think for most of these guys, they're just waiting for the right moment, really, but surely they will know what to do. It's Kurax and Midnight in there having a battle. Midnight trying to get the last point, and so is Kurax as well. Benny must be loving this, but he's under pressure from the prancing horse of Midnight, who is the youngest in this league at this stage, but that doesn't mean his ability is bad. His ability is really good. Midnight, he's probably one of the most mature, 13, I think he's 13, I believe, or 14, I can't remember. He's one of the most mature people in his age I've seen in a long time, so before I found out about his age, I thought he was like 18 or 19, but he's way younger than that, and he's doing so well trying to come back. I mean, he's having a little bit of fun, that for sure, so he may a bit be disappointed about his result at the moment, but, you know, he's still challenging for position, and I still see a bit of sunlight, so maybe the conditions will start to improve as we get towards the end. We've got 10 laps to go now.
Little Block still holding out in 8th position right now on those worn intermediate tyres. He's had these on since lap number 2, and he's really struggling right now. And I think Benny, using his overtake that he's been storing up throughout this lap, he's going to switch to the left-hand side. He's going to brake later, and he's trying to go around the outside of the Alfa Romeo car, both powered by Ferrari. Who's going to get the better traction? It's Benny moving up into 8th position, his first point of the season. And Little Blocks falling down the order now in 9th position.
Yes, indeed. Benny doing very well, actually. He'll be really happy with that. But I think 8th is what he can manage at the moment. Obviously, Big... actually, no, 7th maybe, if he can catch up to Big C. But it's easier said than done. It's now Midnight's chance to get Little Blocks. Ooh, you can see Little Blocks just doing his best to defend on those 23 lap-old inters, which I think is more than what CC Ray managed in the first stint. I think if I was Little Blocks, I know it may cost him his race, but you have to take that risk. And Toxic Tomato goes into the pits. So I wonder what tyre he's going to go on. He's going to be the first of the leading bunch to take the gamble. Is it the Inters or is it going to be Dries? We've got a yellow flag and it is another Alpha. That's Little Blocks. Is it another set? Oh, it's the soft tyres for Toxic. So I still see spray, but maybe there's some parts of the circuit that are dry than we're not seeing right now. Let's go on board with Toxic as he goes towards... Actually, it is drying up quite quickly in the first sector, so... Yeah, it's not too bad at the moment. I think towards the... turn 5, like you said, is probably the most wet, but I'm seeing less spray at the moment, so... I think Toxic has just played this call very, very well.
Just quickly, to add insult to injury on his race, Little Blocks has got a puncture. As all Faz with a 3-second time penalty, that's going to be crucial in his podium fight with Lakitu and Pablo. If those guys have avoided getting a penalty, he's going to drop out of the rostrum and be in 4th position. Of course, Will seemingly on his own right now. He's got Clear out in front of him. He's got Toxic, who's coming to the pits as well. So I don't think we're too far from dry running.
No, we are not. And we'll see how much time Toxic Tomato gains, to be honest. Well, yellow flag is set to 3. That is Lickle, and he's out of the race. He did go on a sauce, but I think he retired in the pit lane. Yeah, he did retire in the pit lane. So that's what you meant to do, of course, and he did it. So, yeah, that's why we're going to get yellow flag and set to 1 for the time being. So, well, it's a double DNF for the Alphas. I think it is for the 2nd week in a row if I look at my standings. Yes, it is. A double DNF once again for the Alfa Romeos. That means they will be last in the standings once again because obviously AlphaTauri not scoring any points either. Neither is Racing Point, but we could see, I think Kuratz could score his first point of the season, bringing Racing Point up there as well. But I might be wrong. Yeah, there's some part of the track which is still... I think Sector 1 there's no spray. But once you get past Sector 1, then that is where the spray comes. And that's why they're still on those intermediate conditions. Toxic only gained by a second there. So not too bad, but not as much as I would have liked. But that's going to be really crucial towards the end. I wonder what Rafa's going to do. He stays out. So does Fad. Lakiti stays out. You can see the spray on the final corner. Will... stays in 5th too. I wonder if Toxic Tomato is worrying about the spray in the final sector. I think that's why he's losing the time.
Well, presumably him and Rafa are in a party together, and well, Toxic had a 22-second gap also back to Big C. And I think that Toxic's just going to be feeding information to Rafa as to when he's starting to gain on Will. And that is certainly the case. He's gaining quite a lot. I think we might be in the crossover period as he is improving on his lap time. So drivers are beginning to come into the pits. Big C's in, Kurax is in, and Gonanen. I think it's time for the soft tyres.
I think it is. Has Toxic pitted at the right time? We'll have to find out. Toxic is ahead of most of these guys, actually. Toxic is up into 6th place, but the pit loss around here in the dries is around about 20 seconds. So Toxic needs to gain at least 2 seconds on Will to be ahead of him and get 5th place. There we go. We were waiting for the call. DRS enabled. Well done. I think good job to the likes of Big C, Kurax, Name Changer and Gonanen, who made the call at the right time before the DRS call was enabled. They had a gut feeling that it was the right time for dries, and they did it. Maybe that the wars will come to it. Or what happened?
Lakitu is coming in at the same time as Faz, and that is going to mean that he's losing out on a lot of positions. He's probably going to lose out to Will and Pablo here and be miles off them, as actually Pablo's going to be held up by that Renault car. You can see the McLaren wasn't able to leave the pit, and that might bring Will into this. Well, he's going to be right behind. He's gone onto the medium tyres, interestingly enough, which we only have 6 laps left to go. So, strange one there, but here comes Toxic Tomato. He's ahead of Lakitu, and he's right behind the AlphaTauri car.
Here we go. So he's going to try and get 4th here, of course, as DRS is now enabled, but not obviously around this corner. I think the only DRS is the start-finish straight, but look at this. Toxic just has so much more grip than Will. He has more of a chance to warm the tyres to perfection, because obviously it was colder at the start of the stint. As Name Changer sets the fastest lap, 1:25.3. I think we'll see a lot of fastest laps here at the moment. Don't forget, if you finish inside the top 10 and you set the fastest lap, you get an extra point added to your race result. Rafa got it last week. Who's going to get it this week? Rafa is still leading 7.9 seconds right now. This is going to be, I think Rafa's probably going to get the win, but I don't know who's going to get the podium. It may be down to penalties again, as Kurax gets a penalty once more. This may mean Racing Point does not get a point. So everyone has stopped. So it's just a straight run to the finish, as look at this, Toxic Tomato with a huge send onto the penultimate corner. Look at that. Toxic is going for the gold here. He is potentially could be one step and he could potentially be on the podium. Don't forget, he started quite low down in the grid, and he's already up into 4th place. He is on fire, Toxic Tomato, right now. And I wonder if Toxic Tomato is faster than Pablo. Can he find at least 3 seconds on the guy? But here comes Lakitu on Will. He's on the fresher tyres and on the softer tyres. Here he goes then. He tries to go for a send. What a brilliant send. This is more like it, guys. We're seeing more overtakes now as the track is drying up. And Lakitu is back up into 5th place. He's now going to chase down Toxic, which is easier said than done, but you never know. A little bit of a swerve again from Lakitu, but he's trying to make up for lost time. Don't forget, Toxic Tomato has a penalty. I think Lakitu doesn't. We have a yellow flag. That's midnight. He's out of the race. So he's, he might have gone into the pits, I think. That is a shame. That is a shame.
He had a spin on the previous lap down at turn number 5, and that put him in the wall. He didn't get any damage from it, but well, he's out of the race now as Rafa puts in the fastest lap. We're going to start to see the track keep on evolving, and more fastest laps are going to start to come out as Faz has set the fastest lap. I wouldn't be surprised if Tomato sets the fastest lap here.
Yeah, to take it away from Faz. No, he does not. What about Lakitu? No, he does not. Maybe, no. Will's on the medium, so of course he wouldn't. But for those of you that are unfamiliar about how long the softs last, they can last about, it is a bit touch and go, but the softs will make it to the end. If it was a normal one-stop race on the dry conditions, laps between laps 7 to 10 is when we'll expect to pit. So they can last 10 laps, so they should be all right with that. And that's why CT Brain did go on the mediums, because and he's going on the soft. He is not taking. He knows that the guys are behind him, obviously retired, so he's got nothing to lose. So fair play to him, and he's going to get a nice fresh set of soft. He's going to try and steal the point away from everybody else. People outside the top 10 won't be getting the point if they do that, but at least CT Brain will try to get that as much as possible. So now Rafa's about to start lap 33 out of 35. This again has been a changing conditions race, really, as Rafa sets the fastest lap. Faz is probably going to respond to that, but Faz is still not gaining from Rafa, so this could be all to play for here. And look at Pablo, 1:21.5. 2.5 seconds behind Faz now.
Well, he can certainly come into play here. Toxic Tomato really struggling to catch. And I think he's going to have to defend from Nikita, who switches to the right-hand side, coming into turn number 1. The Renault car on the inside. Has he got the move? He's come out into turn number 2 now towards the run up there. And he gets by the Williams car, who seems to be struggling. His tyres are slightly older than Nikita's, who really come up to temperature. He moves into 4th position. Toxic Tomato down into 5th.
Yeah, that is a shame, of course, but Toxic Tomato does have that penalty anyway, so it will be interesting to see how penalties is going to come into this. But I'm not going to check any penalties. I'm going to not be spoiled, as it were. So yeah, we'll have to find out as everyone is about to start the final bits of the race. We only have one virtual safety car, no safety cars. It will be too late for the safety cars to come out now, so luckily we won't get the safety car glitch, which is a huge relief, I've got to say. So thank goodness that there wasn't any safety cars. 1:20.9 from Rafa. He's now on the cusp of getting a 2nd win in a row in the season, a 3rd race in a row in this tier, because obviously the pre-season. Faz could look on for his best result ever. I can't... do you know where Faz finished? What was his best result in F3? Because I can't remember.
I can have a look from last season.
Renault, he finished P10 in the championship, but he did join midway through the season. But yeah, I don't know, but he could be shaping up to be definitely a dark horse and potentially stealing away the prizes or potentially from the other guys. Big C now getting the fastest lap, so Big C could get another P6 here. So I don't think Big C has any penalties, that's for sure. And we still got a battle for the last point between Gonanen and Benny. This is going to be a nail-biting finish between these guys. I know Benny's got quite a few penalties. I know Gonanen has 2. The question is, who has more out of the 2?
Well, we'll find out and as we're talking about that, Benny picked up a 3-second time penalty for running wide out of turn number 3 there. There goes CC Brain. He puts in the fastest lap of the race, stealing that extra point from Rafa, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was.
As we begin the final lap of the race, Rafa coming through turn number 1. He has dominated this race after getting by in the pit stop phase. As he's really proving himself to be the one to beat in F2.
Yep, he is. Honestly, I swear, every time I've commentated on a lower tier than F2, there's always someone that dominates. I was not expecting someone to dominate in that fashion, but he is. He's been doing absolutely amazing this race so far in the whole season. He's looking like he's going to be the favourite to win the prize. Even he said he wasn't as confident. He thought that Toxic Tomato was going to do a lot better in the race, but the rain gods have prayed to him, and that's what helped him, because he's a lot better in these conditions. But I've got to say, Toxic Tomato doing very well as well. I'm sure he'll be happy after starting lower down on the grid. So P5 will be great for him. But here comes Rafa coming towards the final corner. He has dominated everything. Is he going to get the pole and the win and the fast lap? We'll have to wait and see. Rafa comes across the line. He takes the victory. Not quite the fastest lap, so he just gets 16 points to his name. A fantastic drive for Faz. Not quite the win today, but surely he's going to come home with his head held high. Pablo gets his first podium in F2. He gets P2. Faz gets more penalties. So Pablo surely is going to be happy with that. Nikita is going to get 4th place. What about Toxic Tomato? He's spun on the line. He's spun on the line. That means Will is going to be ahead, and maybe Big C as well. Potentially, oh no, Big C's got a few corners to go. Oh, that is a shame. I think he knows that he's got more penalties. So, he's got to be careful. Maybe Big C's got to try and avoid him. Yeah, Toxic Tomato across the line. Big C is in 7th. Toxic Tomato had nothing to lose anyway. Maybe he was just doing it for a bit of fun. Kurax was in 8th, but there we go. We've got both Gonanen, Kurax and Benny, all 3 of them getting their first points for the season. Benny getting more points added into the bag for Hassan, getting his first points. He was expecting to get his first points of the season today, and he did, so he's met his expectation. Kurax as well was trying to aim for top 5, but he didn't get that, but still he gets his first point. And Gonanen getting the first point for Red Bull. So it's still, I believe, AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo, the only 2 cars not to score any points. Everybody else scoring points now. Kurax, thanks to Kurax's good result, and obviously thanks to Gonanen and Benny Skim. But we've got 3 different manufacturers on the top step of the podium. Oh, well, in the podium, sorry.
Well, it is another win for Rafa and another win for Williams, the only team to have both drivers in the points in both races, which really does show how close the championship is. Well done to him, and well done to Pablo and Faz for getting their podiums respectively.
So there we go. Let's go through your results, and well done to the ones who've got no penalties. We've got Pablo, Lakitu, and a few other drivers. Hopefully will show up the penalties. And we've got Lakitu, Will, and Big C. So well done to those guys. The ones who have finished, they didn't get any penalties, so they get the clean race award. So for clean penalties anyway. So we got Rafa, who wins 9 seconds ahead of Pablo, and Faz in second and third. They round off the podium. Then we got Lakitu in 4th, Will in 5th place after starting 5th. So again, another top 6 finish for him. We've got Tots Tomato in 6th. Big C, another strong performance. He got 7th last week. He's 7th again this week. So Mr. Consistent for him. We've got Benny in 8th, his first points. Kurak in 9th, his first point. And Gonanen in 10th, his first point. CC Brain, unfortunately, misses out on points as well as name changer. But your non-finishers were Midnight, Lickleblot, Skivan, Pat, and the Confessor, who did not make it to the checkered flag. But I swear we haven't, well, basically since the start of the season, well, since Austria, we've had rain-affected races all the time. Are we ever going to see a dry race this season?
Well, maybe. We've got Great Britain coming up next week, so we'll see. We'll see if it's dry around that time.
Yeah, and obviously Britain is typical for the British weather, but due to how hot it's been in Britain the last few weeks, it may change the matter, but we'll see. So Rafa extends his lead in the Drivers' Championship. He extended quite a lot due to Toxic Tomato dropping down a few positions as well. Obviously, a few drivers could not make it tonight, so they dropped down a few positions. But Faz, he's gonna gain quite a few positions as well as Pablo. So it'll be interesting to see how that shapes up. But make sure you join the same time next week for the British Grand Prix in the PSGL F2. But the action still doesn't stop there. We've got F1 and F3 happening right now on the PSGL channel. Make sure you check them both out. They've just started their races, I believe. I wonder what the weather has in store for them and the races as well. Thanks once again to Dan for being my co-commentator.
It was a pleasure to be here tonight, Jess.
And we will see you next week for the British Grand Prix. Have a good evening and enjoy F1 and F3. Bye-bye.